Okay, welcome. I'm Andy Lee Graham. I've traveled nonstop for 25 years and in 114 countries. That means I don't have a home. I don't have a home in anywhere except where I'm at today. Okay, that means I lived abroad for almost 25 years and I don't know, 8 months right now. Okay, I'm going to talk today about teaching yourself using videos. Teaching yourself about, and I'm going to use the Israeli war as the thing because it's a hot topic, right? But we all need to learn how to teach ourselves using videos. Then you have books, and then you have like articles written on the internet. Then you have articles in magazines. There's a lot of ways, a lot of media, right? And but sometimes the easiest way to do is videos because it's not so mind-boggling intense, right? But when I have to read something, sometimes I'm too easily distracted, right? Okay, so I got a quote from me. Everyone is a teacher. We first teach ourselves, then we teach others. To prove to ourselves, we taught ourselves well. Okay, now I'll say that again. Everyone is a teacher. We first teach ourselves. So I'm teaching myself. Then we teach others to prove that we taught ourselves well. See, when you put your teaching on the block and you put it into peer review and wanker review now because of all the trolls, it has to bear the heat of opposition, right? And the hard part here is to have just the right amount of opposition that it doesn't. It lends itself to me because that's why I'm going live right now at the same time as I make this video. But if I teach you about how to use videos, the best person that learns is me, Andy Lee Graham. So generally, when I'm really, really, interested in something, I also start to write a book on it. Okay, and it's kind of like taking when you got a book and you take you make an outline of the book, but writing a book is making a really extensive outline with theory. Okay, pedagogy. What is pedagogy? Pedagogy is the science of teaching. That makes no sense, right? This is a phrase too complicated to understand, but that's what it is. Pedagogy is a word that means it's, to me and you, is to learning how to teach. It's the science of teaching. So if you have these classes and like they're supposed to teach teachers how to be good teachers, right? And how to teach and how to inspire a person to learn. When we sit down, become serious, we have to ask this. But first, let's have some fun. I want you to really understand that the word pedagogy is something that a teacher and a teacher and a professor, anybody that's an instructor should know. Why? Because this is the art, this is the science of how to teach. Okay, I mean, it's not that easy to teach. Okay. I mean, some people are just naturally good storytellers and teachers and whatever. I don't think I'm a great teacher. I always get better, but let's have some fun. You walk up to your professor and say, "Hey, what does the word pedagogy mean?" You walk up to your high school teacher, "What is pedagogy?" Your grade school teacher, anybody that's teaching, even your priest or your preacher or whatever, they're all teachers, right? Okay. So the art of teaching, how to do it in a way that makes sense. There's two different types of teachers, though, and I'm going to always bring this up. You got entertainers, and then maybe entertainers that are educators, and then you got teachers. And a lot of times the teacher can be boring, and the problem with teachers is that they bore people so much that everybody hates high school, right? You got a teacher, when a teacher is so horrible that the students just bored to death. I was bored to death in high school, right? And college. And basically teachers were just, I don't know. I would sit there and pay attention to the teacher and read a book at the same time or a magazine or something, right? Because they're so boring. I mean, but they had to talk to the lowest common denominator. But have some fun and ask what this word means. What is pedagogy? It's basically, I want to teach my children math. I want to teach my children science. I want to teach my children how to study. Well, how can I teach my children how to study when I don't know how to study, right? And okay, but there's all different levels of study. Really, the sad part right now is people only study for the paper. There's a movie called The Paper Chase. Okay, and it's a really excellent movie. I watched it in the university. My friend Steve Alfeder was going to be a lawyer, right? And it's all about Harvard Law School and the paper chase. The paper chase is to chase for the diploma. So people really, all they want is the diploma so they can get the job. And that is not really learning. That is something else. I don't know what you want to call it. But we all want our children to learn. Can we accept that? We all want our family, friends, we want our children to learn. But how do you do this? It's pedagogy. It's the art of teaching. It's the study of the science of learning. So to learn about Israel, we have to be a good teacher. But we're going to, basically, we teach ourselves about Israel, then we talk about Israel, and basically, by the time we're done, we understand what the freaking thing is. But it's very, very difficult to learn anymore right now. And I'm going to get to that. How do I do this? How do I teach my children? I want my children to be successful. I want my children to be the top of the class. I want them to be salutatory. I want everybody to look at them with respect. But most of all, most of you, all you want is, I want my children to make more money than all my friends. Children, okay. And this is the sad part. Why do we have our children go to university? We have it so that we can brag about our children make more money than your children. And that is not really a very purist intellectual thing to do. But that's a basic thing. I have all my friends tell me how much money their children make. And I go, are they happy? Okay. So there's not a direct correlation between how much money you make and happiness, right? And that's the problem. How many people we got on here on live? I'm always going live. Nobody's making a cut. Okay. Most of all, you want your children to be successful, be happy. We have this dream that your children are happy. They don't kill themselves. They don't become drug addicts. They don't do this stuff. And right now, it's quite obvious the United States public is doing a bad job. But this is why I'm making the videos, because the art of learning is... the art of teaching and the art of learning, they're hooked at the hips, right? You can't be a good teacher unless you can teach yourself. So what comes first? Me learning how to learn, or are you only going to be reading a book so that you can get a good grade on the test and then you can get a degree and you can go work? That's not really learning. That's basically regurgitating what the teacher wants to hear, right? Pedagogy is how we teach. Teach me, I teach me, then I teach you. I teach me, then I teach you. But here are some examples how I, Andy, am studying the war between Israel and Palestine. I don't consider this a war between Israel and Hamas. I'm not going to let them off. It's the little autonomous state called Palestine. They got these leaders that are Hamas. Hamas has been running this country. They are as responsible as the leaders of Israel are responsible for the people of Israel. Hamas is the leader of Palestine, and Palestine people are responsible for Hamas. Okay. First, I have to teach myself before I can teach another person. So, for me to learn about the Israeli war, I've got to really understand what the hell I'm talking about. And that is not easy, because it is a really complicated issue. But the big deal right now is we're in the nexus or the possibility of a third world war. Why? Israel has nuclear bombs, okay? And Iran wants to exterminate them and basically commit genocide. So does Hamas, so does all the countries around there. There's probably, 300 million people, more than that. Half a billion people that want them exterminated. They don't want them to just stop. They want them dead, wiped from the face of the earth. We had 50 million people die in World War II, and Hitler was trying to exterminate the Jews. And I have no real understanding of this hatred, okay? Okay, but examples on how we learn right now. How do we learn? We watch the news on TV, we watch the news on YouTube, we watch the news anywhere there's a place to watch it. We read the newspapers. We, if now people think that paper newspapers are no longer valued. And I hate to say, but it's much better to read than it is on a stupid little phone like this. You can read, you can scan the whole page and whatever. They watch YouTube videos. They listen to the radio. This is one thing that about the only United States is really very, very good at, is having a radio. And people often, if it wasn't for going to work and driving their car for a half hour, they would not have much education. A lot of it's a debate to me whether what is more influential, the television or the radio. And then you got work, where you can go to work and you can listen to the radio while you're at work. So this is kind of a United States centric type of learning, which, I mean, I cannot listen to the radio here. It's just way too complicated. I just like to get in the car, turn on the radio and listen. Okay. And then this is where it gets dumber. You got Facebook to learn, you got Instagram to learn, and Twitter to learn. And why do these systems work? Well, it's because they're fun, and they're a bunch of people arguing. Okay, but what is the problem in learning right now? What is the horror story that is happening today in society? People are learning endlessly from never stopping gossip, okay? It is not news, it's gossip and opinion. Okay, so if you want to know about the Israeli war, gossip and opinion is, I hope you understand, one of the stupidest ways possible to learn about what the realities of this war is. Okay, but it's fun, right? And then you got gossip mongering, evil spirited people that want to make you angry. Why do they want you to make? When you see something that is to provoke you to make angry, it's all about money. It has nothing to do with education. On the other side is a YouTube channel like mine. If we don't sort of pump you up emotionally, mentally, we're not going to have that many viewers. And I'm caught in a catch-22. I know how to make you angry, but I don't think it's the right thing to do. Okay. But if I can make you angry, I can make you listen, read, and hear what I am saying. So I learned Spanish, and I used to argue with this Argentina girl in Rio Gallegos, Argentina. And that taught me more about Spanish than anything. And this girl was a never-ending thing. I think she got beat as a kid, and she wanted me to hit her. And I go, yeah, Andrea, I'm never going to hit you, okay? But she would provoke and provoke and provoke. But my Spanish got really good, okay? Because when you're emotionally into an argument, that word really sticks. Basically, that's how you learn a language. You get your eyes, your ears, your feelings, your brain, your emotions, everything into the word. Then you own it. Okay. If I can make you follow me, if I can become an influencer, what do I get? I get to have advertisers that give me money. So I try to keep the advertisers off the channel often, especially if it's an important thing. But the advertisers are no longer on my channel because I'm too diverse. The advertisers, you only see a lot of advertisers if you see a sponsored channel, or you see it, that means they're a one-track channel. They only talk about one thing, because an advertiser wants the person to always stay on target, always do it. But not going to happen with me, because I'm not that type of person. I think that you should be a well-rounded person and think about things. And I'm actually going to make a video trying to explain that I really care nothing about travel. I care about I'm a person that collects experiences. And I believe that experience is much more valuable than learning from a book, right? Okay, but if I can influence you, I can advertise a product and someone wants to share my brain. So basically, when I become an influencer. So this is a real big problem on learning about Israel. This is all totally related to it because the advertisers of different people. I mean, you have political parties now supporting different, YouTubers, right? Like, but nobody can be trusted that is sponsored by an advertiser. Nobody can be trusted. Why? Because they're going to say something that contradicts what the advertisers want, and it becomes a problem. I'm going to tell you, I just watched a really good video. It's kind of ironic coincidence. That's what God is. God is when an ironic coincidence happens the day before you make a video, right? That's God speaking. Okay, but there's nothing noble about anybody except maybe Elon Musk or anybody that's uh, worth billions. Okay, there does come a point when a person goes to Maslow's hierarchy and he's a philanthropist because he's got so much money. Carnegie, Rockefeller, these guys, when they finally get to the point where they have zero worries about money, they start being more honest. Okay. We have to be rich enough that we no longer need money. I feel very, very grateful that for the last 25 years, uh, money has been such a little influence, but that's why I just live on necessities and I don't have any luxuries because that gives me the freedom to say what I want to do and whatever. I have no beholding to anybody. But for the last 5 or 6 years, I had we transitioned to a social network, and it was the worst time of my life in the last 25 years, the last 5 or 7 years of having members on my website, that I wanted to say, you are an idiot, you're actually manipulative, and you're trying to hurt people. And I'm not going to call them out like that, right? Because I don't want a website where we have two sides, right? Where we got the good guys and the bad guys. And truly, I think that I would have to get rid of about 90% of the people on a social network. For me to be happy in a social network, I want them to be very well read, educated, basically perpetual learners. And how do you create that? Seth Godin does try to do it, but it's really kind of boring what he does. Okay, and this is all personal to me. I've just lost $500,000. I worked for 23 years and 10 months in this business. How much money do you earn in 23 years and 10 months? $500,000, $1 million? That's how much I lost. Okay, so when you guys lost $1,000, you understand that signal? I don't really care. I lost maybe $1 million. I'm angry, and but you have to somehow walk away. If you want to learn about the Israeli war, you want to learn about anything, you have to walk away from your anger, and you have to separate it. Like when Bill O'Reilly says the no spin zone, he's trying to say no spin to make you angry, right? No, he's constantly pushing his book or his cornstarch thing, and that, I don't know. And he's always been in an advertise-based business, so I don't really buy that he doesn't spin anything. He does. He's a lot better, and I'm really proud of him that he's funding his talks by his books. I'm going to fund a lot of my talks by books. I've written 5 books, and I'm going to write a new book right now about I can never remember the name. Andy's Life in a Separate Reality. Okay. But I am now capable of saying to anybody, you are an idiot and you are dangerous, because a leader does that. A leader sits there. That's why Donald Trump is a leader, because he will tell another person that he is an idiot. Barack and Biden and all these presidents, they do it in a diplomatic way, but the public don't really get it, right? So that's why he's a real leader, because and Elon Musk is a much more calm one. Unfortunately, Trump's learned how to do it in a very aggressive way. Okay. Okay. But Elon's opened his mouth and loses advertising. Here's a great interview. And in the description, like you guys are live, there's a link and there's a video that I put in this link. It's a link to a Google Docs. And I'm going to put all these links into this video so that you can find them. But there was a great interview. Tesla CEO Elon Musk. He said, they asked him, why do you say things on X that makes people angry, or conspiracy theories or whatever? It's really good. He said, why do you talk about conspiracy theories? He said, well, the Hunter laptop was a conspiracy theory until it's proven. There's probably a conspiracy theory that the Pfizer vaccine doesn't work until it's proven that it doesn't really work, right? Okay. He says, but this is what he said. I'll say what I want to say, and if we lose money, so be it. And that is an adult, and that's how I want everybody to live their life. Okay, the video link is really it's in the Google Docs, okay? It's going to be in the bottom of the video that I'm making right. Okay, so how to learn. How do we learn about the Israeli war? How do we learn about anything? This is not about the Israeli war. This is how to learn. How to teach yourself so you can teach your children, how you can teach your friends, how you can be the smartest person in the room. That's what you want to do, right? First things first, wiki it. Go to Wikipedia, which is, yes, it's biased, and it's got a whole bunch of Germans over there talking woke and doing all sorts of stuff. But it does try to be balanced, okay? So you read Wikipedia, and that's like a definition of whatever you're talking. So you can go to Israel. You probably can go to the Israel-Hamas war, the Israel-Palestine. You can read all these pages. Not really what you want to do, right? But that's how to do it. What I have is a little program called How, and it just reads them to me like somebody's on a video, right? But we're going to get to the thing on how to do videos, right? So really, the hard part is a video is tempting you with clickbait. So every one of these advertisements trying to get you off the critical thing. So first you have to know is the real basic understanding of what's going on with Israel and Palestine and Jordan and the whole history of the Middle East, which is the history of the world, right? The Christianity, you got three groups fighting over this area: the Christians, the Jews, and the Muslims. Okay, but I've got the whole thing written here, pedagogy. I'm going to take it out into one sentence. Pedagogy takes an academic discipline, is the study of how knowledge and skills are imparted in educational context. How do we impart knowledge and skills in an educational context? That means the context means a school or university, right? So I got this whole definition from Wikipedia sort of in here. And then second way you'll start to learn is you read the word pedagogy, but you could read Israel or you could read war. You got these words in every sentence. So there's every sentence, every title has about five or six different words. You got to understand all those words, right? And they like to be pompous and they like to use words like pedagogy, right? It's a funny word. And it's a absolutely worthless word. I don't think, I was trying to, it showed in YouTube, it said the pronunciation of pedagogy. I said, I better listen to it. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say this word. But if you can teach yourself, you can teach others. So yin and a yang thing, right? So the simple definition of pedagogy, the art, science, or profession of teaching. The art, science, or profession of teaching. If we're not capable of teaching ourselves, we are not capable of learning. So everybody that thinks they're highly educated has to be able to be a teacher. And Einstein said it: if you can't explain to a sixth grader what you're trying to think, you don't really understand it. I was always upset at my partner because he wouldn't explain what he was doing. And I said, hey, that proves that you don't understand it. Okay, then we have these words like self-directed learning and autodidactism. An autodidact is a self-taught person. I'm basically a self-taught person because I came from such a bad high school that it was like 92nd out of 96 schools in the state of Indiana. That the only thing I could do is teach myself. But that's a very complicated understanding. But we all are self-taught. Naval Ravikant, Charlie Munger, all these people talk about being. Seth Godin's given a really good speech on YouTube about how to be a self-taught person. And this is what I'm trying to do right now, is trying to go to this. But you got experience versus teachers. And this is the art. You got to get a teacher that actually has a hand on. Who do I want to learn from? Do I want to learn from a stockbroker, or do I want to learn from Warren Buffett that has stocks and makes millions of dollars? A stockbroker is a person that got a job. If he or she is not worth $5 million, they don't really understand what they're doing. Okay? And it's a problem. It's people think that a college professor is a smart person. A PhD doesn't mean bull. Okay? It doesn't mean until it's put into practice. So it's called utility. There's a word of utility value. Always. There's like different things. Is the teacher actually using what he or she is teaching? And then you got to also know, can they make money by giving you bad advice? So when Eric Berg is talking about something, then he turns around and talks his product, he basically sabotages his expertise. Okay, you really have problems when people are paid by advertisers, right? So this is, how do we know we have a teacher? We have a teacher when they basically don't care about anything around them. A teacher is a person that basically says what they think and doesn't care anything. A lot of people get really mad at me, and I said, I don't know you. I wasn't talking to you when I made this video, right? I very seldom actually know the person that is angry at me, right? Okay, so you got to find a person without an agenda. That's very difficult. The news, the tragedy, the horror of the news right now is every single person has an agenda. The Palestine people have the support of like 400 million people to kill 7 million Jewish people. There's about 400 million people that want genocide on the Jewish people. And they got the support of all the aid organizations that's got billions of dollars. Basically, the Palestinian people have so much money coming in because everybody feels sorry because they were occupied, say, 60, 70 years ago. I'm not really sure, and I can't always remember these things. But how many years before you say you lost the war and you're fucked? Okay. How many years is Tibet occupied by China before Tibet gives up the thing, before the Dalai Lama basically gives up and says, I'm gone? If the children and all the people are dead that happened, I think it's over with. Okay, so let's put a threshold. Are all the people dead that were at the end of World War II, when Israel kind of went in and took over this area by dictate of all these big nations, right? Are they all dead? Is everybody involved in that dead? Then we can say that they're no longer occupied and they're no longer refugees, okay? You're not a refugee if you wasn't alive when the occupation happened, okay? And it's this game playing that's happening, right? Okay, but teachers are somebody that has nothing in the game. They have no stakeholders. They're not making money. They're not a stakeholder. It's like me. I'm not a stakeholder in Israel. I just I support Israel, but what I just talked about was the difference between actual experience and learning. I went to Israel. I spent a month in Israel. I stayed in the Al Fazal Fasai, I'm probably saying it, hostel. It's a really nice place, full of a bunch of, I don't know what these guys. These were tourists that came there. They were giving back the West Bank or Gaza Strip at the time, and they had all these reporters. I didn't go there because of that. I just happened to be there. And I only ended up in this hostel because the Iceland girl in Tel Aviv was really beautiful, blonde hair, blue eyed, and said, "Hey, go with me. There's a really great hostel in Jerusalem I can go to." So I stayed in the nexus, the corner, the epitome, the central center of the universe of all this unholy world, right? I called it, when I wrote about it, I call it the unholy lands. There's nothing holy about this area. It is the angriest place I've ever been in my life. But my whole hostel probably had, I don't know, say 40 people, and they'd been living there for weeks and months, okay? And they all came to this hostel so they could protest against Israel. And I'm like going, so you came to another country just so you could try to destroy the country you came to visit? Yep, that's what they did. And they all thought I was a spy. But that was my experience in Israel. So I went around Israel, and I had a friend of mine. The one reason I went there is I met this Canadian that got a scholarship to go. He was a, I don't know, blogger. I mean, he was a traveler, and he finally realized he could make a bunch of money by living in Israel, and he wouldn't have to work for a couple years, maybe a year, if he went to Israel. I stayed with him a while, but about a week, until I realized that he was not very happy. Okay. Hey, Pedagogy. We got some people. Rich out. Peace. Okay. So, how to learn from somebody. The first thing you do is you go there and you do it. Like, I don't know how many people are right next to something happening and they just don't go see what's happening, right? That's called empirical evidence, empirical thing. They have all these philosophers talking about how many teeth are in a horse, and somebody silently says, "You idiots, go outside and count them." Okay, and these are philosophical arguments I had in university, right? And teaching you, but I studied a lot of psychology and English and and science, though, is basically trying to go first, empirical evidence. What is the reality? It's kind of funny stuff because so many people will talk about something and they're right next to something and they could go study it. Like I went and interviewed some Israeli people. I didn't interview them. I talked to them. I didn't want to embarrass them. But I talked to a bunch of Israel people before they left here to go to Israel. Ask them what was going on. I talked to the minister of something here when we had this strike and thing. I asked him, what's going on? Is this over with? I ask people constantly, what is the situation in thing? And how many people do I have to ask before I know? You can't lead the witness, okay? And you just say, what do you think about the protest in Guatemala? Then the person can take whatever side they want. And the people basically start talking to me. They're basically say, I hate those Israelis, or I hate these Palestinians. They don't come from a learning point of view. They come from a very prejudiced point of view. I'm going to lead the conversation, so you have to say, I totally disagree. And I sometimes say, I voted for Trump, I vote, or I did this, so that I can get these people to stop, right? Because they will start talking as if, and that's really just arrogance, right? You're not really having a conversation, you're basically having a gossip mongering thing. But how do we do it? So first things first, we got to get experience, if you can do it. And then if not, you talk to somebody with on-the-ground experience. We're in a world where communication is everywhere, right? So learning becomes a lot easier. I have friends. Do I have any friends right now in Israel? I have a lot of girls I like in Israel. I really love Israeli women. They are the alpha females of the world. All these friends, they dissipate, right? But I would like to go to Israel right now. So that's the idea. That's the reason why I keep bringing it up. But without actual hands-on experience, it's always secondhand. And then, so when the newscaster is talking about it secondhand. That's the reason why they put those embedded journalists in there. But those embedded journalists are, again, not really hands-on, they're secondhand. Luckily, they will interview some soldiers, which are first-hand knowledge, right? So you have first-hand, second knowledge. So there's degrees of experience, right? Okay, so how to learn the truth? You go experience whatever you want to learn. The Israeli war, you go there. You talk to both sides, number two. And you have to collaborate. You have to get multiple things. And that's not what the news does anymore. They find the one person is totally off the wall, crazy, angry, and they interview that person because that's the funnest one to interview, right? That's the one they're going to make the most money. The one exception to the majority. When you see that, you got to realize the person doing the interview is not to be trusted. And that is pedagogy. How to learn it's an art. It's not really just a science. There are things that they can science to say that a person that's happy and smiling and energetic is a better teacher than a really dry, hello students, how are you? You can see that there's two types of teachers. One is just more charismatic and thinking. I've been talking for years that we need to teach charisma and personality and thing. And I've been challenging, why is Jordan Peterson always so grumpy looking? Okay. But when you're learning and you're interviewing, you say, you got to repeat to yourself. I'm always talking, my self-dialogue is, Andy, don't lead the witness. Don't put words into people's mouths. Don't say, well, so the Israelis are winning the war. What do you think? Yeah. Are you still beating your wife, Joe? Are you still beating your wife? I mean, that's a loaded question, okay? And people do this. It's like 95% of the conversations, right? But first things I say is, I don't want to learn from angry people. I don't want to learn from anybody teaching me angry. Okay, so right now, the great thing about the internet is you can get on YouTube or Vimeo or any of these services and watch endless documentaries on the history of Israel. And it's not really a documentary until it's about 45 minutes to an hour. If it's not an hour, it's not a serious work, right? A 20-minute video documentary is just a joke, okay? But to do enough research to collect 2 hours on the history of Israel and put it into a thing. But realize that every single documentary has an agenda, especially if they are like an aid one. Aid ones and missionaries are totally agendized. But there are, funded things where and it used to be the nonprofit television thing. Now they're completely woke and they're always science magazines anymore. They're always being paid for by stuff. When you do a research study, 85% of the research studies are paid for to give professors to support what they want. So you got these people like the milk industry trying to say milk is healthy because they're a milk manufacturer. So you can't hardly trust anything anymore. But when I was in the United States, I read 5 newspapers. And then by reading the things, the core information came out. And if you watch 8 hours, 10 hours of the history of Israel, the commonalities start to show up. And then you become pretty. But you shouldn't learn words and phrases just to one up or hurt a person you're talking to. And I'm amazed at how many people try to pull out of the thing so that they can attack somebody. Okay, so the $1 million question on learning is how many videos, how many hours, how many films, how many books before you can open your mouth? You can open your mouth just anytime you want, but how many videos you watch, how many hours of videos, how many films do you watch, how many books do you read, how much experience do you have before you can actually call yourself an expert? Kind of a rule of thumb is 10,000 hours. and Malcolm Gladwell kind of coined this in his book. I don't know which book it was, but um, I have 10,000 hours in probably doing concrete work, construction work, real estate, management of of an internet website, and experience of travel. Okay, I'm not. I have 10,000 hours in my life. I've spent 25 years in the experience of being a traveler. I am not a tourist. Okay, a tourist is a person that has a list of things to go visit so they can go home and tell their friends. I'm in the. I'm a guy that collects experiences. Okay, and I'm a never-ending learner. Okay, so I talk about a lot of different subjects because I get really angry when somebody wants me to tell them how to take their tour. If you want me to tell you how to do, of course I can do it. You just got to pay me. Okay, I'm not going to tell you how to plan a tour to Paris or Germany or all these countries I've been with to 114 because it's boring. And but you need somebody that will tell you the truth. And I can tell you, anybody making a video talking about the tourist attractions of Paris is a liar. Okay, there's no truth whatsoever on YouTube videos that are talking about tourist attractions that make you happy with music in the background. That's just an advertisement. And what are travel writers paid for? They're paid to write advertisements. They get a free room, and then in turn for the free room, the free airfare, they write in advertisements, and they basically are not to be trusted. But if the video is too much fun, it's probably not to be trusted. If there's no music, if there's music in the background, you got to really say, would I like this video if the guy stopped talking and I just was looking at the pictures? A really good movie should be told by pictures, and you don't need the words. Okay, if it's annoyingly educational and not entertaining, it might be. So there needs to be a little bit of seriousness. But you have these different speakers that on the background of a movie where you recognize it, like Charleston Heston's talking, or John Wayne, or Elon Musk. You have these very famous actors doing the dialogue, and they do that specifically to get you because you love to listen to the voice of this person. I was last year. I had this girlfriend, and she says, "Andy, whatever you do, if you write a book, make it into a video book," which is really hard for me because I go off the subject all the time. If anybody's reading this stuff right now, you realize I go off the subject. But they said, a lot of women go to bed listening to your voice. And I thought, oh, that's nice. Sounds kind of creepy too. But there is a melody to certain people's voice, and that can be hypnotizing. So am I getting hypnotized by the way Elon Musk talks? Am I getting hypnotized by the way that Bill O'Reilly talks? Am I hypnotized by the way Greg Gutfeld talks? Am I totally annoyed by some of those CNN speakers, right? I sit there and I go, I was sitting in my mother's couch one time. I was laying on my mother's couch. Whoever sits on the couch, I lay on the couch. And I just came home from like Africa or something, and I'm laying on the couch, and she watched the CBS News every night. And I'm like half asleep, and suddenly this music comes on, and this talk comes on, and whatever. And I jump up and I go, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" She goes, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Well, that music is frightening." Okay, it's angry. Is like, she goes, "Andy, it's just the CBS News at night." And I said, "The way this guy's talking is nerve-wracking to me. I don't listen to anybody talk that way. But listen to the melody, the tone of people's voice. Are they trying to make you angry? Or are they trying to make you think?" Sometimes you have to say things in an awkward way to learn. So the art of learning from videos is to watch a lot of them and not let Google feed you. Google owns YouTube, and they control the videos. Okay, so I load up Google all the time. I'm loading it up right now on Henry David Thoreau. I'm right now putting in there Chapter 1, Economy, Walden, Henry David Thoreau. And I'm loading up YouTube to serve me more videos on YouTube so that they can make advertising money. They make advertising by getting me to watch a video, then making me nonchalantly think and accidentally click on an ad. It's all accidental anymore. Okay, so advertisers are losing their ass on advertising, but if you just are watching YouTube and whatever YouTube gives you, especially on a smartphone, you are anal. Instagram, Facebook, they are serving what looks like an article, and it's called native advertising, and it's really an advertisement. So they make it look like an article, but it's really an advertisement. This is called native advertising. It's really, 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 I think it should be illegal in a lot of ways, because when you are, what's a spammer? I mean, not a spammer, a con man. A con man is a confidence. So they want to create a confidence that this is just one of your friends writing about this, and it's really an advertisement. That's a con. That's what a con is. That's what a con man does. A scam. How do we learn from videos? It's really tough. How do we learn about the Israeli war? It's tough. At the end of the day, we hope you can try to identify somebody that is a smart person, study person, basically reads a lot, and does the research. So what we're looking for in a newscaster is somebody that is very highly educated, that can give us the information and they can prove it. That's why Bill O'Reilly is so thing. He's written, I don't know, 20 books. Why do I read the business acumen of Seth Godin? He's written 24 books, right? If a person is a newscaster and they haven't written a couple books, there's kind of some problems. Because at what level, I mean, a lot of news people have a specialty. Okay, and the CNN ones are that they're gay. Okay, that's not a specialty. Okay, that's an affliction of, people are loving these people because they can relate to them, or they're virtual signaling, right? When the president appoints a person that has a virtual, like he's appointing all these really 2% people, these minorities. So what he's doing is filling up the whole thing with a bunch of people that have these minority aspects. So we have the minorities on the television. That's not really the news. You really want somebody that's written a couple books that's talking about business, right? You want somebody that's basically like that guy that's doing the health thing on there. I forget his name, but he's written some books, and he's actually very, very knowledgeable on health. Oprah Winfrey, she's a very good person on interviewing. So, but she keeps her voice out of it. She interviews the person. And Peter Robinson, that does the Hoover Institute, a part of the Stanford School. Just brilliant interviewer. He reads the book, then he interviews the person. He reads the book, then he interviews the person. This is logic. Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is one of the best read person, and then he's also not angry enough. He's willing to say the blunt truth. And these are 3-hour shows. Okay, so how to learn from videos. First of all, you don't let YouTube serve up the videos unless you loaded them in there. I load up the algorithm so that I get certain subject plastered on me. So I could go Palestine. If you want to learn about the history of Palestine and Israel and Hamas, you go Palestine documentary. You watch 2 or 3 of them. You just start them, right? Then you load it up. Then you say Israel history, and then you load it up. And next thing you know, good. Anybody who's on a smartphone is by definition only seeing. I can see at any given time. I can probably see. I don't know. see, 6.3, say 9 videos sitting on my screen, and on my phone I can only see 2. You're basically a speed reader, right? And you're only looking at 2. If you're in a tunnel of learning. Okay, I'm here and you're not. Why not? I'm here because I only need the necessities of life. I don't need the luxuries of life. I only need the minimum necessities. And it only takes about 5% of the work that we do to pay for our necessities. And about 95 to pay for our debaucherous wants and needs. And so many people are in the United States because of Jeff Bezos of Amazon and different people like this that are got you totally addicted to buying. You're absolutely in a battle to prove to everybody that you can buy. When people get together, all they talk about is what they buy. People get angry on my website because there's nothing to buy. They were much happier when I used to sell 20 products on Amazon because they had something to buy. Right now, I'm only going to sell knowledge because I don't need that type of person. I need a person that wants to basically become a perpetual learner. And I'm making these videos longer because the people that only want a 2-minute video, they don't really care about learning. People that are only watching TikToks, they want to entertain. They're not really doing a deep dive into any subject. They're basically just having enough information to say, oh, Elon Musk said this. Or basically, TikTok is quotes. Okay, it's like a quote, a short. I make a few shorts here because they're just like quick things that I want to tell somebody about that are not really valuable. Okay, but maybe they could be valuable, right? Okay. Anybody that wants to ever hire me for consulting, I no longer have any business that I'm going to push you at. And I'm not really wanting you to come to Lake Athlon because most of you are just going to destroy the place, okay? But I will be here, and certain ones, if you come at me in the right way, I will help you to come here for a fee. And I have 25 years of on-the-ground experience of travel. And I'm not a natural-born liar, right? I don't know how many people. You ever watch that TV show called Lie to Me? I truly believe that everybody, I cannot lie because my sobriety, my 37 years of being sober is reliant on me not lying to myself and not lying to you and being proud of who I am. And so I've stayed sober, a recovering alcoholic, for 37 years by rigorous honesty. And I won't give up what kept me sober for you, okay? Okay, I'm going to say hi, and then I'm going to get on this with these guys on, how many people we got? Only got 4 people. Anytime you get really smart, you lose everybody on YouTube. What goes on with that? But then you got these people that are addicted to, different speakers. I like Jordan Peterson, but now it's hard to even watch him because, it's just too convoluted, right? Okay, but don't just go from temptation to temptation. The last sentence on this thing said, what did it say? Oh, I forgot to read it. It said, what we do, is this you? I want you to ask yourself, is this you? We go from one temptation to the other. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, force feed their agenda. Do we allow YouTube to serve up what we watch? Do we allow the news to just give us anything? Or do we want to? I just made a video the other day showing you how to open up 100 plus. You could open up 200. You save these bookmarks, you right click on a thing, and then you can open up 100 news channels and then read all the headlines. And after you read 100 of these things, I do it like once a week on different things. Then I have one on engineering stuff. And then I have tech stuff. And I could open up 10 channels on tech. And the tech stuff is the biggest liar stuff. But I will open up the news channels, and anything that's really incredibly important on tech will show up into the news, right? But I will right click and open up the thing, and it takes, I don't know, 2 hours because my connection is always beat, and it can be a lot of problems to sit there and speed read this stuff. Can you speed read and can you type? And if your children can't speed read and they can't 10-finger type, eventually we'll get rid of this and you'll just be talking to it like Star Trek. You'll be talking to the computer. But that still doesn't make you intelligent. It's can you teach what you're talking about? Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I am always willing to research a topic and give my opinion on it. Doesn't mean I'm an expert on it. But if you want to, bump me $50 and have me talk about a subject, I need $350 a month right now because I just closed down my business. And it's all it takes for me to travel the world is an extra $350. I have $450 in Social Security. And I'm not the least bit worried. Why? Because I've lived by the seat of my pants and an entrepreneur for 45 years. I can always make money. I'm here and you're not. Why not?